Good morning, Richland County. It's 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, February 16th. Richland County Board of Commissioners is now in session. I'm Richland County Commissioner Cliff Mears, joined by my fellow commissioners, Tony Vero, Daryl Banks, our clerk, Stacy Crawl. We're also joined by our County Administrator, Andrew Keller, Rachel Troyer from Central Services, Captain Blunk is way in. Vid Morgenstern is here. We have some gentlemen from, I believe, the NECIC. Would you like to introduce yourselves, gentlemen?
I'm Paul Robinson. Dave Crocker. Lyle B. Miller.
And we have Al Lawrence on the line.
Cassie and Matt Steenfield.
Al Lawrence from the News Journal, and also introducing, representing the Salt Lake City District Attorney's Office, Lawman Dan, otherwise known as my son, Dan Mears.
Let the record reflect, he thankfully looks like his mother.
So welcome, Daniel from Utah to our,
Oh,
that's good. Our first order of business is with Central Services, Rachel and Ruth Blunk, to talk about the medical services contract price increase. Don't like price increases, but this one's not so bad.
it isn't.
It's not.
Yeah, we are very lucky that this is, I consider a small increase, advanced correctional healthcare. In the contract, they are allowed to increase, following the fluctuations in the market. And, they have requested a 4.0% increase. Here. We have just finished the very first year of this contract. So we are going into a renewal, and that's what we're asking for the commissioners to approve 1-year renewal with advanced.
Can you remind us what this contract is for?
Absolutely.
Yeah, medical services at the jail. It covers a doctor that's available 24/7, full-time RN, and about 6 LPNs, 24/7 medical coverage for the jail.
In this contract, we've had 1 year. This is for a 1-year renewal.
Correct.
We could have 2 more.
Yes.
So Cap,
Total of 4 years.
I have a question. I don't ever want to accuse you of sandbagging here, so I wanted to ask. We had put in or approved for the 23 budget. 673,318.9.
Mhm.
We're coming in at 607, which is good. But I'm curious if how we came up with the 673. Was that just a ballpark estimate or are you sandbagging on?
No, that's also including outside medical treatment and also prescription drugs. So that's built within, if you look in the actual definition, I think in the contract piece, it gives you that part. It says the contract price, which I think I estimated at 601,000 for this year, which with the 4% increase, I think it'd be about 607,000. But, and then I have $45,000 for outside medical, and I have about 27,000 for Mobile X and lab.
Is that all in the 530, 698 line item then? Do all those come in under that?
But
Yes.
Memorized.
So all 3 of those are the 3 components that make up, that's what I wanted to make.
Yes, that'll make up that medical services line.
Yeah, because it all comes in under the 530, 698.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the contract would be included into those 2 other, I guess, entities or,
That's pretty close then, 601,
yeah,
not bad.
yeah, not too bad. Yeah, I was a little off.
Well, if it was the price is right, let's see if you were over and you're.
Come on down.
Come on. Motion to approve.
Second,
Yes.
Thanks.
yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
Any questions from the media on this contract?
Yeah, what's the maximum we could have requested? Maximum increase?
Well, that's a good question. I haven't done the actual CPI on the medical. That would be the outside vendor, but I can get you that information when I get back to my office. I will let you know.
Can you give us some idea of the kinds of treatments and things that this medical service provides for the inmates? I hear about 24/7 and that kind of, but what sorts of routine things do these medical services provide?
Yeah, any medical, we have any medical issue or concern that an inmate has. The medical staff and team would address those medical issues. They triage with their nurses and they would set them up for sick call, which the doctor comes in once a week and does what we call sick call every week. So, and the nurses do sick calls every 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. So they're out there. If there's any issues, medical speaking, any concerns, they would do that. If anything emergent happens, they respond immediately with our corrections or security staff to address and handle the situation. So I can't emphasize enough how thankful I am that the overnight, the 24/7 is in place right now. We had several overdoses last, I think it was the end of August, where I think about 7 overdosed after that in those hours. And honestly, I think the night shift saved 4 lives that night. So, and that was with our medical team. We were actually even thankful that, because they were actually training a nurse. So I actually had 2 nurses on. So it was very helpful in treating, 2 or 3 at a time with the medical help that we have. So that was very beneficial to what we're doing.
Investment.
I think that without a doubt, I'm pleased.
And if an inmate's on medication, they distribute that.
Correct. Yeah, it all has to be approved through our doctor. The doctor has to look over it. Like if you're taking a medication on the outside, as long as you're current, our doctors, we still have to check that with the pharmacies and the doctor. They'll continue that medication as well in the most part. So, but yeah, continued medications, treatment. We've even gone. We don't bring stuff like even for an inmate that had dialysis. That would be an outside treatment. We'd have to take them. But the follow-up treatment would be our medical staff that would do that as well.
That's what I need. If you can get it, what
I will. Yes, good question.
Sal, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Captain. Appreciate it very much. Well done. Moving on to other matters of business on our agenda. Corrections on the February 9th minutes. So I'd like to call for certification of the record of proceedings for February 9th and 14th.
Well, I'll have amendments for the 14th. So at this time, I'll make a motion to approve February 9th.
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes. I'd like to propose amendments for the minutes on February 14th. I have 3 proposed amendments. The first would be on within tape 02.35, where it was stated there are 28 total parcels in Crestline. I believe the correct reflection would be there are approximately 28 total parcels. The next proposal would be tape 0.0605. Of their backlog of work and how long have then been without. I would imagine it would be have there been without. And then also on tape 0.16.54, you actually don't list a second who seconded Daryl's motion, which I believe was me. Cliff's the chair, but if you notice, you don't
what
list.
topic is that?
It is the topic of job and family services. I've noted them for you. So you can correct them. Those would be my proposed amendments.
I will second with the amended to pass the minute. The minutes.
Commissioner Mears, Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Should I have a motion to approve requisition?
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Motion to approve the weekly transfers and appropriations.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Banks, Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Next order of business is to renew the Dayspring Internet agreement with Armstrong. This is an agreement last year, and there's no change in the new contract.
How about that?
Make a motion to the contract.
Second.
Mr. Mears. Mr. Banks. Pharaoh.
Yes.
Next, we have a request to approve the biosolids and application contract from wastewater, and this is for basically the sludge that we pay Camrick Brothers Farmers to haul out. It's a cost of $7,500. We didn't do this last year. We didn't have enough. It is a 15% price increase, but it's interesting to note that this sludge is from the wastewater treatment plant to the county-owned land at Dayspring. Farms are
Look at that. We can be green. Well, brown.
be brown and make it green. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mears.
Yes.
Mr. Banks.
Yes.
Mr. Pharaoh.
Yes.
And the last item we have on business at the moment is to accept the retirement letter from Kathy Shortridge, for child support.
We will begrudgingly accept that. That's many, many years of service. So we miss her. And I will begrudgingly make that motion.
I'll begrudgingly second.
Mr. Mears.
Yes.
Mr. Banks.
Yes.
Mr. Pharaoh.
Yes.
Do you have any questions, Al, on any of that business?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Carl? Seeing no other business at the moment, we will stand in recess at 9:41 until our 10 o'clock executive session with Job and Family Services to discuss discipline of a public employee.
baby boomers.
Yeah.
in the Market, which I think is a result of COVID.
It's 10 o'clock, the Richland County Board of Commissioners session. I'd like to ask for a motion to go into executive session, discuss discipline of a public employee.
So moved. I'll second it.
Gentlemen, you'll have to leave.
Commissioner Mears,
You have to vote on. it.
Banks,
Sorry. Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
You don't have to excuse yourself. It's executive session. So we'll see you back at 10:30.
Yeah, there's seats right out here in front if you want.
No, you gotta pay for that then. Or your taxpayer, right?
The Richland County Board of Commissioners is now out of executive session.
I have to.
Sorry, can you quiet down?
Hold on a second, guys.
Been back out of executive session. Thank you.
Richland County Board of Commissioners is out of executive session. And I call for, there's no action to be taken at this time. I call for a recess to be taken until, say, 10:40. We'll start our discussion a little bit late. We've been in executive session for a while, so we'll take a bit of a recess until 10:40.
I sent you an email.
Yeah.
It was.
Yes.
Good morning. It is 10:40. The Richland County Board of Commissioners is back in session with a full house here in the Commissioners' Chambers. We're here to discuss the NECIC Community Center update. And so for the sake of expediency, to identify who all is here, could we go around the room? I've identified earlier that the three commissioners are here, as well as our clerk Stacy Kroll, our county administrator Andrew Keller. But in addition to that, and as well as Carl Hunnell, Greg Kale from WMFD, and I think we have Al Lawrence.
Yes, he's online. We have several people, other people online also.
Do we have names for those?
Yeah, Matt Stanfield somehow signed in.
Okay,
I believe it,
come in person as well as virtually.
I believe it's Shayla Bradley, Jacqueline Williams, Juliana, Aretha Cross, Fiona Purdue, Matt Ayers, and Jackie's iPhone.
Jackie's iPhone.
Yep. Jackie signed in with her iPhone.
Thanks. Why don't we go around the room then, starting with you, Deanna, if we could just kind of wander around the room and identify everybody who's here for the record.
Deanna West Torrance.
And recipient last evening of the Richland Area Chamber Chairman's Award.
From NECIC. Renee Thompson.
Mario Davidson, NECIC.
Christine Lindeman. Jody Perry from the Chamber.
Brady Groves, Richland County Foundation.
Paul Kemmerling, Board President, NECIC.
Matthew Stanfield, Field 9 Architecture.
Amy Yaki, City Council Clerk. Stephanie Zader, City Council, Mansfield City Council.
Chris Liner and NECIC board member. Aurelio Diaz, Mansfield City Council.
MLB Miller, resident of Richland County. A lot of other stuff from Richland County, including the practice of law for over 60 years. And very much interested in how this thing is being developed in Mansfield.
Thank you.
Dave Crocker, supportive citizen.
Paul Robinson, citizen.
Callie Watson, Richland County Foundation. Jennifer Kime, Downtown Mansfield Incorporated. Laura Lindsay from the County Auditor's Office.
Jyotika Shetty, Regional Planning.
David Morgenstern, Public.
Susie Beeson, North Bend resident and NECIC board member.
And
Daniel Mears, visitor.
from the Salt Lake City District Attorney's Office. Okay, I think that covers it. So we're here for, as I mentioned, the NECIC Community Center update. With that, I'll just turn it over to you, Deanna, and your group to just where you're at. And then we as commissioners will have some questions and comments as well.
Okay. Well, since we have been here, I was not, I know I've met individually with all of you and we've met collectively. And when we were last here, there were a couple things that I needed to bring back to you all. One, Commissioner Banks had requested an operational budget, which when we got it, we sent it. So that has been done. And then the second was there was quite a bit of discussion regarding the Friendly House. And so those meetings have also taken place. In the meantime, I think we were able to secure $1 million grant from the Richland County Foundation. Thank you very much to your board. And secured our first bank investment, which was $100,000 from Park National Bank. Now our fund raising plans are really underway. We've identified the foundations we are and are in discussion with folks now and also individual donors. So that work is now solidly underway. As far as the building is concerned, we have continued on NECIC's has been paying for that. We've continued our work, moved forward in terms of the pre-development work that was needing to be done. We've spent some time on the operational budget, met with Peter Herring, who Renee Thompson is here as part of our project management team. And she and Mario have been the main people who've been meeting with Mr. Herring related to appropriately pricing the rents in this new building. As you know, there hasn't been construction, so really just didn't have good comment. So I think that a lot of the discussion that has taken place in these spoke those particular things. I'm not sure what specific questions you have. I don't think you want me to do the whole thing again, but do you have questions or?
I will have questions.
Sure.
speaking for myself.
Okay. You want to just get into them? Because I really don't have, I'm here to address your questions.
Okay.
Mhm.
I will start, and I have a number of comments and questions I'd like to make. I hope you hear what I have to say in its entirety. And I believe that commissioners here have all been voted into office to ask the hard questions. So as we ask the hard questions, this is strictly business. This is nothing personal. This is nothing against the organization, but I will have some questions that will be rather pointed. Okay. So first of all, when the program first came to my attention, I did have some reservations, and I won't dwell on those, but I will recap those. I was concerned initially when I heard about the project that I felt that there was a lack of communication within the community, a lack of partnership, a lack of overall needs assessment. In other words, what services are being provided within the community and which are not. I was disturbed that Friendly House was not consulted, being a 6-minute walk away, 0.3 of a mile away, because they do offer a great number of services. By NECIC's own admission, there was no contact with them whatsoever before the project was put together. So I was concerned about that. That's number one. And the second reservation I had was because of what I saw as a lack of involvement with other community partners early on. I felt it resulted in a redundancy of resources and activities. For example, the things I brought out, and I won't dwell on those, but the basketball court, art studio, theater, classrooms, commercial kitchen, cafeteria, conference rooms, office space, fitness center. Those are the things that are proposed, all of which already existed. And I was concerned about that. And so without going into a lot of detail, I did have raised those concerns early on. So moving forward, Commissioner Banks asked for an operational statement back in October that was provided in December.
That's for in May.
Was it asked for in May? Okay. So it took some months to get, and that's mostly what my comments are going to focus on. So without going over each line item, which would be rather time consuming, I did spend an awful lot of time doing what I thought was my due diligence. And again, asking the hard questions and preparing for this meeting for things that I felt were relevant questions. So let's start with some of the expenses that are on the operational statement. First thing I'd like to look at is property tax. Operating statement, you've allocated $3,208 property tax annually. Can I ask where that came from? Because it seems like a very precise figure, $3,002 and $8, $3,208. How does that come up with?
So initially what that was looking at was where Deanna's office is currently located and just really trying to extrapolate. Currently, there is a tax abatement from what I understand. There is not, I know Mario has tried to check to see if he could find out any more precise information about the taxes, but that was as good as we could get. And we tried to prorate it based upon the area. So it was as close of a number as we could possibly get.
Okay. So to recap, that's $3,208. In checking with the county auditor, $15 million commercial property with that market value in Mansfield, in the Mansfield City School District, going to be in excess of $400,000. The approximate number I got was about $421,000, not $3,208, but $400,000. That eclipses by far all of your projected revenue. And that's one bill. So in other words, if this was built, you couldn't pay your first property tax bill, even if all your tenants paid on time. That concerns me greatly. Okay, that's question one. Second is, I think the utilities are also well understated. Your total electric bill for the year is $8,530, which equates to about $710 a month. Can I ask where that number came from? Does anybody have a process of how that was developed? That you can do a whole year of a 35,700 square foot structure for $8,530 or $700 a month?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak a little bit to that. We're building it to be certified by PIS, which is Passive Housing US. And that certification really revolves around energy use and source energy use, and their projections and of energy savings is upwards of 80% over a code compliant building. So your energy use in a building built to these standards will be 20% of what it would be if it was a code just built to code compliant standards.
Okay.
And that's where that number was starting to be developed from, in kind of conjunction with what they currently pay extrapolated for the increase in square footage.
From what I've been able to ascertain from my research, and I went to the Department of Energy, where they've identified for a commercial building in the United States, 22.5 kilowatt hours per square foot, and equates to $2.10 a square foot. Multiply that times 35,684 square feet, you're looking at $6,244 a month instead of $710.
And then you take,
I understand you've got the solar panels and you expect to get a realization, but the discrepancy between $6,000 and $700 per month seems not realistic. I don't think that's sustainable. And I don't think that's practical and realistic. So, I mean, you're never going to know what your heat bill is going to be until the structure is actually built, right? So I decided to put that Department of Energy standard to the test at one of our buildings, the county building. The Longview Center is a little bit bigger. It's 42,000 square feet, a little bit bigger than what you're proposing. Our bill last year was $71,256 or $5,938 a month. Very, very close to what the Department of Energy standard is. So using that as a standard, it does seem applicable. We're about $6,000. We're roughly the same square footage, a little bit, about 15% difference. We're about $6,000 per month, and you're projecting $700 a month. That to me just doesn't seem in line. It gets worse. The largest cost in any organization is labor. There is no labor cost in this operating budget. There's no cost, no provision for healthcare costs, the largest cost to any organization. It was not disclosed on the operating statement at all. I assume you're going to have people that are not volunteers that are going to be paid, that are going to be provided health insurance, but that's not covered at all. None of that was disclosed. So again, I'm not going to go over each line item, but those are some of the expense items that jumped out at me. Now let's look at revenue. Most of your revenue is going to be covered by rents. And one of your rentals, and again, I'm not going to go over each one. One of them is Community Action. Community Action is currently one of the county's tenants. They pay $17,869 a year for rent. But what you've got identified as rent when they apparently are going to switch over to you is $65,189, or 3.5 times what they're currently paying. Yes, the space is a little bit bigger, but being our tenant, I would have thought that they would have consulted us if they needed more space, that they had intended to move. I didn't see any letter of intent, no letter of understanding that they intended to pay 3.5 times what they're currently paying. That I don't quite understand. So again, these are just the numbers that I've come up with. I think I've done some of my due diligence. It frightens me that those numbers were purported. They don't seem realistic at all to me, from what I've been able to determine. And it brings into call in my mind that there's some serious business acumen that's lacking with this project. From my standpoint, and from looking at those numbers, and then from what I've seen, which I've just disclosed, I would suggest to the Board of Commissioners that this is one project we need to walk away from. That, you know, the ARPA clock is running. We've been looking at this for many, many months, and I don't think this is something that we should support because I don't believe it's sustainable. If we learned anything from the OC Hill building, and I was on city council at the time, we didn't have near enough revenue to cover the expenses, to cover the maintenance, to cover the boiler and the windows. I've shown you the property tax alone will more than absorb all of your.
Can we start there with the property tax?
Nonprofits
Obviously,
don't pay property tax.
We can meet you one-on-one, line item by line item. How much property tax does your favorite charity, Friendly House, pay?
Well, I don't know, but I don't think that's an issue.
They don't pay any, nonprofits don't pay property
How
taxes.
much property tax does the Y pay?
If I can interrupt you,
They don't pay any.
but
You would pay
you're collecting rents. When you collect rents, you lose your tax exempt.
a percentage
You'll save,
based on the property, the percentage of that property that would be used for
that's correct.
non-mission oriented work.
That's correct.
Where that number comes from. So from the start, your $400,000 number is a red herring.
You're saying that all of,
We're saying that most of those people who are renting from us are also nonprofits. Most of the people, the tenants are nonprofits,
well, you're.
as we are.
Tax. I reviewed, listen to me.
You're off base.
We've been
This is, this was,
for 16 years,
You've
not
asked-
paying
you've asked for
property
facts
tax.
time out.
No time out.
This was a yes, time out, because I discussed this with our county auditor, top accountant in the county, sides with me.
You said you asked him for a commercial property.
This is commercial
This
property.
is not a commercial property. This is a nonprofit property. Those
You
are-
have to apply for nonprofit status, and that could take over a year, and you still
It's 15 years.
collecting rents right now. When you collect rents, you lose that tax exemption.
No, we actually do have a tenant. Field Nine Architecture is.
Okay, here's,
Argue with you because based on my conversations with the county auditor, he's looked at your operating statement.
but may I interject in? I appreciate that because I do think you should do your due diligence and I understand what you did and it makes sense. However, to say that we don't have business acumen is insulting, as has most of this process been for us. I understand that you don't want to support the program and we are okay with that. What we have is we have a phenomenal organization that has made its reputation on its partnerships. I think that if you look across this room, we have partnered with every organization you see in here. And to say that we don't partner, it is insulting. It's insulting to my entire career. It is insulting to.
Did you acknowledge there was no conversation with Friendly House prior to?
To my board, and it is insulting to the North End residents, because at the core of this was the Friendly House. And what I want to give to you is evidence of my tax exempt status and evidence of the Friendly Houses, where we have clearly delineated what we do and what they do. So that if we can't convince you that there's no duplication of services, perhaps the IRS could. And I thank you, gentlemen, for your consideration. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming to meet with us.
Oh, I'm one voice of three.
I understand, but to say that on the record and to question our business acumen, we've had 16 years of clean audits.
It's my job, yeah.
No, your job was to do your due diligence, ask me those tough questions. Your job was not to say that there was a lack of business acumen. Your job should have been, answer these questions, which we were more than happy to do. Thought went into that. We aren't going to pay $400,000 in property taxes. And the reason that health insurance and those things are not on there is because this is a budget for the building. This is not the budget for our nonprofit. You did not ask for that. So perhaps you could have
Might be able to
clarified.
get Deanna.
Or the
Pardon me?
building,
Operating,
or the building,
operating
or the
budget.
building.
For yeah. And so
Operating budget.
I'm happy to give you my agency, my organizational budget, if that's what you wanted, but that's not what you asked for. So I don't know if I'm used to responding to funders. I've been applying for grants and talking to folks for money for years. And so if the right questions aren't asked, then we're not going to give you the right information. So I apologize to you. And I apologize to you if we've wasted your time, but I think that this is very telling. And I don't think you have to give us this funding. You don't have to. It's up to you. The steering committee, many of whom are represented in this room, of community partners, recommended that. And that's why we're here. But there is no appetite, particularly from some of you, to support anything that we do, and that is okay. But to say that we haven't talked to the Friendly House is wrong.
Prior,
It is untrue. No, not prior to.
Anna
No. What I said was when Matt Stanfield
told us that.
Matthew Stanfield said when he was convening the community meetings that he did not talk to the Friendly House. That is what was said.
No, Andrew
Ask-
said the Friendly House was not consulted when you put this program together. You told me that.
Which is what I just am talking about when Matt was doing the initial assessment and talking to community. That's what I said. And the reason that we did not talk to Friendly House is because we do very little, because Friendly House serves young children. You've been in my building. It's not a child in sight right now. We said we are trying to do this to replace what was lost in the community by the OC Hill Neighborhood Center. So what I am curious about was, no, we've been told, we have been insulted enough.
Right. He's one of three. May I ask a couple questions?
Mhm.
how difficult would it be to get a complete operational budget that would include for the staff? Because any contribution, I think Cliff has made it clear that he would probably not be supportive, but he's one of three. So I'm one and Daryl would be another. So how difficult would it be for Friendly House to get us,
Not Friendly House.
start again?
Yeah.
How difficult,
Them in the room, by the way,
how difficult would it,
Friendly House come in the room who wanted to say that they weren't supportive of this.
how difficult would it be to get the full operational budget? I can't imagine it would. I just said something.
Difficult at all. I can
Okay.
email it to you.
Awesome. When do you think you could have that by? And look, I understand this isn't a bullseye because we're a couple years away, but
This is harrowing.
okay.
Harrowing.
So here's, first off, as of now, I am supportive of the project.
Thank you.
To explain why, but there's gonna be big caveats, okay?
Mhm.
The way I look at it, I also did some research today. We've discussed a lot, Jody, myself, the gateways into our community. And I think it hits me because I happen to drive that route every day when I take my daughter to preschool and then I come in off of 39. And so I did a little bit of distance measuring. It's less than 1 mile from the exit of the highway
Right.
to where the community center would be.
Mhm.
Talk about improving the gateways of this community, which is why we have the RAISE grant, improving Main Street. Concurrently, we have another big project, the YMCA's soccer complex, that is also a gateway
Mhm.
to our community.
Mhm.
A full disclosure, we don't think they're applicable for ARPA monies. I know there's been a lot of discussion with the commissioners commit money to soccer complex. We don't believe we can outside of some water and sewer investments. So regardless, I view these projects actually together. And I believe, Brady, you can slap me if I'm wrong. I believe the foundation sort of used that way in a similar sense that you guys have been generous and committed money to both projects.
We have made grants to both projects.
So I'm not saying you're working the project, but I view these projects as two gateways into our community.
Right.
And I see driving through the north end that we need investment in that area. Okay? So as of now, of one of three, if you were taking a straw poll, I would be a commissioner that is in favor of the project. However, we need to be very clear, and this isn't a cool thing to say because we're elected officials. This is not our money. This is the taxpayers' money. And you and I have gone round and round on the questions being asked. And I said, look, we've had a judge in here and there's been round and rounds over $58,000.
Mhm.
And this is someone in the Owen County system. Carl's, where you at, Carl? You've reported it. I mean, Daryl said to a judge, you're in our courtroom now. Okay, so this isn't about feelings or preconceived notions. This is real dollars. This is a $2 million ask.
Mhm.
And so
Actually, we were actually coming in to ask you just to match the city. That was our.
So then I would ask Councilman Diaz, where you at? My understanding of the city is the city has given NECIC till the end of this year and a $1.5 million commitment contingent upon
Us raising them.
funding, full funding for the building, meaning the city, and then I would say the county
Mhm.
would be the last money's in. And then also, and that's where I got to the questions, because I had the same questions Cliff did. Now, there's a misunderstanding on that, because I said, okay, what salaries, benefits?
Mhm.
I know the proposal contained maintenance costs, but these are the things we need to see, because there would be no other contribution from the county taxpayers. But I believe it's important enough for investment in the north end to give you an opportunity to raise that money, because these are two gateways in our community. We are a growing community. I had a phone call yesterday with a developer in the Hanley Road area about some very, very excellent investment that's coming in the gateways of our community.
Mhm.
And we have to look at all the gateways. So I am more than willing to, at least, as you said, you like a challenge. That's what you said to me.
I like a challenge.
Okay.
I can.
So do you think you can have that? It's what, 15 million now?
Just, yeah, right around.
Say 14, so let's say 15, give or take.
Yeah.
Do you think it's realistic? But again, I'm one of three, so I'm cool.
I think it's realistic. I'm gonna get $15 million by.
Well, we only would need 12. It was 1.5.
I think it's realistic.
I'm asking.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I
Realistic is doable and it will get done.
okay.
Yeah.
To me, it's sort of easy. We don't have the easy job to a certain extent. But I certainly think we owe the North End and NECIC and all the community members are in here an opportunity for you guys to get to the end of the year to say, believe in us, we delivered, and, you know, ride with us a little bit.
Right.
So I'm willing to stand in the same shoes as the city. So if you want to know my position as of now, I'm more than willing to give you an NECIC an opportunity to invest in the North End. So that's where I stand.
Thank you. I think that's important for our county, as I shared with you. I think that's important, and that is how I've always looked at that, because people do come into the city and into the county from the north. So I completely agree with you. So thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Did you talk to the auditor?
We've been contacting back and forth recently. So,
Okay,
reached out.
okay.
Friendly House doesn't pay property taxes, by the way. I looked at the report.
Don't charge rent.
No,
Now,
it would be.
I believe that I was elected. What's over the county's money, the taxpayers' money. It's not the county's money. And I think we've been financially responsible. Commissioners up here, Maryland. We've had changed policies. We've been very careful how we spend money. Last May, I feel a little bit insulted. The last May, we asked for things that took till December to get. And we got several papers, things in. And evidently there's a misunderstanding of what I asked for and what you thought I wanted. I thought of operating expenses. I'm thinking of the whole thing, but we got part of it. Cliff has outlined, even if you throw out the taxes, an awful lot of discrepancy between you making enough money to cover the charges of when that building needs a new air conditioner, a new roof, 10, 15 years, 20 years down the road, not putting enough money in there. So that takes care of the expenses. I was told in May, we'll get you that. It took till December to get it. I was also told that you were going to start your fundraising in July. I thought you meant July of 22. It's now 23. And obviously, foundation has been generous and the bank's been generous. But, you know, I thought there was going to be a campaign in between there. And I'm not in favor of this project at this time, and I can't support it at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. One other thing is, I think we're doing this looking out for all the taxpayers in Richland County. But I think we're doing you a favor. Because a $15 million budget, $15 million building, I don't see by what papers you give us, you come anywhere near being able to maintain it. You'll be taking money from the fine services that you provide and hopefully will provide in the future. But that what you're asking for on total, not just our 2 million or whatever. I think we're doing you a favor by having you reevaluate this, but I am not for it at this time.
Daryl, if they, understanding if they.
I am not for it at this time.
Okay.
Thank you. I apologize to you yet again, as I have several times, regarding that operational budget. I explained to you what that situation was, so I do hear you on that. Thank you all for your time.
Carl?
Thank you for your support, Mr. Vero.
What's that?
I said, thank you for your support.
Yes, ma'am.
Al Lawrence on the line, News Journal. Any questions?
I guess I do have one question.
Oh, hold on, Al.
The two of you saying you're not in favor of it at this time, does that end the commitment that there was no vote taken? Were you actually voting that you're no longer interested in participating in this, or is it just?
We are under a time frame.
No, I'm asking, is there a vote by the commissioners today saying we will not participate in this?
I've identified the fact that I can't support it based on the operating statement I've seen.
so there's not a vote. I mean, I'm just asking.
No, not a vote.
I guess I look at it, I think I understand where these two are. But, you know, I would maybe like to think if Deanna goes out and raises the money and she's at 10 or 12 million, there might be an opportunity to say, hey, look, we've held up our end of the bargain. Would you at least reconsider? So I never give up on anything, you know that. Again, I hope that the fundraising efforts go in a manner where it's a way of showing that, hey, we just need those last dollars to make this happen. So I never consider anything a done deal, but it's up to these two.
Is that your understanding as well? They can come back if they raise that money or no?
They certainly come back.
I got nothing.
Back to you, Al. News Journal, anything?
Not at this time, no.
Some people in the audience may have some comments.
I'd like to say something as president of the board. First off, with all due respect, Daryl, that last statement was about as condescending and patriarchal as I could ever imagine. You're doing us a favor. Thank you, Daddy. The challenge here is one of vision. Whether you guys like it or not, these dollars are windfall dollars. They could be put to creative use to build, amplify, to do amazing things. What you're going to end up doing, I would almost bet my paycheck on it. You're going to end up banking these dollars for revenue replacement.
That's not true.
I would almost guarantee it.
Well, you're talking to one commissioner who's supportive of the project, but since you said we didn't know our effects.
Do something extraordinary. With the exception of you, Commissioner Vero, you have demonstrated zero capacity for vision. Zero capacity. And I hope the voters recognize that when it comes around, because this, again, look around the diversity of this room of people who are engaged in this project, who are telling you it's a winner. You've asked for figures, you've asked for facts, we've given you figures and facts from experts in their field. And what have you done? Well, I don't like those numbers.
And said we have no.
I don't
business
think those
acumen.
numbers are correct. Carol, how many multi-million-dollar fundraising projects have you managed?
Absolutely none.
None. Yet, your opinion is that we're going to fail?
Why?
We're used to people telling us we're going to fail. We're used to people telling us in our neighborhood, we can't have shiny and new. We should deal with repurposed and old. We should share.
Collaborate. We should work.
Collaborate.
Together.
Gosh, that's
Let's work
our
together.
name.
Should work together.
We're used to people like you telling us no. And we're going to prove you wrong.
Definitely.
And if I have anything to do with it, there are other board members here. I'm only one voice amongst the board. We will not be coming back here. But we will certainly make sure that everyone knows your failure here today and your failure leading up to this moment.
Also, you were just with us Friday, Commissioner Banks. If I had not provided you, if you wanted those, of course, we know how to do financial statements. And so what we were looking at was that you wanted to make sure that building could cash flow. We have over close to a $3 million a year budget. We pay close to $1 million a year in salaries, and we pay health insurance. So I do have all of those numbers. So all of that stuff's available. We gave you audits. We've given you, I just don't understand. I really don't. I don't know. Maybe this is how everyone's projects get looked at, but I really don't know. But to add insult to injury to me is just the overall insulting nature. No acknowledgement of the project, no acknowledgement of all of the different agencies who have worked for months. That's what I've been doing for months, working on the partnerships, making sure I had people to come who are going to occupy the building. And so I think that to sit here and be chastised by people who have never started a nonprofit, who have never done any of these things that we're doing, to sit here and question my business acumen and my organization. I have the chamber president on my board. I have the bank president on my board. I have expertise all around me, but it's okay to say that to me. It was okay to do that. It was okay to go to the Friendly House and not to our board. Why was there all the discussion with them and not with the NECIC board of directors? It has been a circumvention of the right way the whole time. I've called you, I've talked to you. I said, hey, if you have questions, tell me. I don't like ironing things out. I don't like gotcha moments in public on camera. Because I have created a number of opportunities to respond, to answer if you email me, if you call me. These months that have gone by, we've communicated. So I'm just, to sit here on these cameras and act like any CIC didn't respond, any CIC doesn't do partnerships is ridiculous. And it's just been, let's just pull things out of the air. Why not to support it? It's a wonderful project. And if anyone else had brought it to you, you probably would have supported it. But it's okay. Like Paul said, we're used to it. We've been around for a long time and we've raised I've raised $15 million before. So I will raise it for this building. I don't think anybody in here questions whether or not this building's getting built. I think everybody in here knows that that's going to happen. And we wanted you all to be a part of it. And we wanted to be able to go to these national funders and say, our city, our county, and our local foundation support this and see value in this. And that helps us to bring in money. That's how that works. But if a funder sat there and listened to that and what was said today, and that just the insulting nature, that could also be very helpful to us. So thank you. I do not wish to come back.
If I may, you know where I stand with the project.
Known you for a long time.
Appreciate you.
We're still friends, Paul.
Okay. I'm not obviously personal about it. But all that aside, I'm not clear about something. I understand you're still open to the idea.
My position has always been I'm supportive of the project, but there's one thing I would like to say, Deanna, when you said there is no other project like this.
No, I understand that.
So Daryl is right in the sense that we have a very fiscally conservative approach to the taxpayer dollars. And for commitment of this kind, a lot of I's need dotted and T's need crossed, because we need to be able to show that the taxpayers that we were good stewards with their money and we appropriated money to a project that would last, which I believe it will. But yes, I am supportive of it on the condition you have the funding, you can show another operational budget, which I know Deanna can do. But I certainly think we owe it to at least stand in the same shoes as the city and give NECIC and other funders an opportunity. So I think matching the city makes sense just for all the right reasons.
Mr. Banks, so I'm not clear about whether if she would provide you, he has a lot of it already, with the additional questions you have, is your mind still open?
At this time, today,
At this time,
it is not. I am not in favor of the project.
understand that.
And if anybody brings something up here, we'll certainly consider.
Okay, so you would consider, with additional information, you would consider then taking another look at the project.
Something brought up. I would make this suggestion. Anytime you bring up an operating budget and a building budget, and you have fine people on your board, have them look at it before it comes up, because some of you did not look at that. You wouldn't even be asking why we're questioning it.
I understand the nature and importance of the question. I really do.
And considering we're on a time frame too.
I understand that too.
Okay.
Whether we're saying yes or no, if you're open to the project, if they fulfill and meet the kind of questions and concerns that you rightfully have, are you still open to another presentation?
I think I just said if something comes up, this organization, another organization, I'll take a look at it.
So that's a yes?
I'll take a look at it. It's not a yes, I'll take a look at it, and it's a potential.
I'm not saying yes, you would approve the project.
Okay.
Yes, you'll take another look at it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're under a time frame.
Well, I understand.
Radio?
Thank you. Commissioner Mara, Commissioner Mears, Commissioner Banks. I wish that I could provide all the intricate details of the financing and budget. I can't come out of part of that process. And I do thank NACSC for all you've done for as long as you have for a very overlooked area. I think you're in a situation where you're going to be scrutinized, and I would not want to be where you're at because you're going to be a good guy or a bad guy no matter what. But I think in the bigger scheme of things, I'm from the North End. I'm a product of going to the Friendly House as a kid. That was a time where there were things for youth to do, preschool to like 12 years old. Things are different now. I mean, you know, the state, when you were on city council, our parks are desolate. There's nothing for young adults to do, 13 and up. That's why senior high created the freshman academy, because that's the age where people are dropping out and making bad decisions. When I was younger and when we had pools and things to do, and we were bored, we'd still make dumb decisions like juveniles. But now the crime of that range of folks is much higher because there's no one to look up to. I think the big focus has always been on the Friendly House. And I think that they provide a much needed support to people, not necessarily in the North End, but the North End consisting of 4th and 5th Ward. If you look at it, it's generally historically been people who don't vote. It's people who don't trust any elected officials. They're people, black and white, Roseland and, Bowman. These are folks who I feel, even before you've been where you're at, they've been let down in greater ways. And these are the folks who look to us to change that. And I think with this community center, is much vast and bigger than a Friendly House or anything else. We're talking about accessibility for medical needs. Most people in the area, just people I work with in my jobs throughout the years, transportation is a huge barrier. Living in those areas and that whole end of town, the morale is so low because they're not getting the much needed focus and the resources that every other place is getting. We praise downtown Mansfield Rising, which is something I support, I'm very proud of, but it is very painful to see these other areas that are overlooked time and time again. And I'm not blaming you all for that at all. I think that aside from your concerns, this is greater. We need to stop comparing something that exists already. And this is human life, really. I mean, people who are generationally living in the North End and outskirts, and they don't have anything to call their own. Well, you drive down there, we have a Dollar Tree next to a dollar store and another one probably coming. The homelessness issue, people are hovering in those, squatting in those houses. It just looks really bad. And if I lived there, I wouldn't live there, I'd move away. But a lot of people don't have that option. And I feel like whatever happens today or whatever else, that's just, I think the bigger scheme of things is a North End, an end that is historically overlooked time and time again. And, when you're not here, I think that they'll get it. But I think in the bigger picture, I think hopefully that's something we can do as the entire county and city, really minimize and really invest in that end of town. So thank you.
Aurelio, if I can make a comment on that, I think you and I are aligned on a lot of the values, and I'm certainly not unsupportive of investment in that area. I think that's a good idea. My whole point was I'm looking for numbers that make sense, and these numbers just did not make sense. To me, it's black and white. It's strictly the numbers. But I agree that investment should be made in that area. These numbers just didn't make sense in this case. Stephanie.
Just a quick comment. Obviously, there's a lot of emotion going on in this room right now. It's very clear that you guys are very passionate about this and you've worked very hard on this project. It's very clear that you guys are very passionate about doing your job and protecting the taxpayer dollars. At the end of the day, this isn't about us in this room. It's about the kids. It's about the future. So I hate to see the emotion that was created in this room today stop that progress. I've heard the commissioners say that, if something changes, they'd be open. If you get to $13.5 million and you need $1.5 million, I would hate to see the project go down because we've exchanged words in this room today that hurt feelings. But it's not about us. It's about the kids. So I know that it's clear that there have been feelings for here today. I hope that we can not let that stand in the way of progress, because I've heard a lot of people talk about progress today, doing things for the future. I don't think any of us are in this room for doing what we do for our mental health, because God knows being in the public sector is a stressful thing. We do it because we care about the future of our community. I guess that's my comment, is I hope that we can walk out of this room, take a breather and look at and get back to work. If you guys get to that 13.5, it sounds like you come in here and you say, I've got $13.5 million committed. I'm not going to speak for the commissioners, but I think that might change the conversation a bit. Give them updated numbers and raise that money. I just don't want to see that stand in the way of building something for the future of our children.
We'll put Stephanie, thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
I probably served this community more than anybody else sitting in this room. I was a lawyer here for over 60 years. I was involved in about every type of community activity you could find. I've seen funds raised and I've seen things happen in this community. I see this as something that is going to prevent things from happening in this community that should be happening. I do not agree with the decision you have come with here today. I'm highly disappointed in it. And I think it's not in the realm of what I have seen happen here since 1958. It goes back a long time. I see things being made here on a strictly political basis and not on a need and a support of something happening in this community that will help the entire community grow. I am firmly against the position you're taking, and that will be reflected in anything I can say in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Anybody else?
I just want to say before we leave, you mentioned another thing. You mentioned needs assessment. When you first went on city council, your wife and you came and sat down in our office when we were at 199 North Main Street. And we went through a document called the North End Plan. You remember that?
A long time ago.
Okay, well, it's the North End Plan, so it's a huge document and you all, city council passed it in, you guys voted in 2017 and all of that. That is a needs assessment. We have done the needs assessment. I think we've gone deeper and are better at identifying needs than just about everybody. So we did
I
do.
understand. Deanna, my point was,
Community Center came up in 2010. It was in the 2010 plan when the first needs assessment was done. This thing about us not talking to people is bothering me because we talk to everyone. Because people tell you we don't talk to them doesn't mean we haven't talked to them.
again, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier, that you had told me in November at our meeting that there was no conversation with Friendly House prior to putting this program together. I'm just repeating your words, Deanna.
You know what, and you know what, I told you at that point, we had met with Terry Connard, but I do want to also speak to
Well,
Stephanie.
I also spoke to,
Stephanie, there are no hurt feelings. I don't want anyone in here to think there's any hurt feelings. What I am is I'm extremely appreciative and grateful of everyone behind me. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Because that's what keeps things going in our community. And I can appreciate when people are responsible for, hey, I get it. I totally get it. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
But I'm telling you that it came out gift wrapped in insults, that we don't know what we're doing, that we can't figure it out. We can't. The reason this stuff is late is because we were waiting on professionals.
and the numbers didn't.
I'm just saying, to tell me we made a $400,000 error and to say that publicly, that's not what we made. We don't pay property taxes. So there was an allowance made for it, but it's not a cost that we typically see. So those are the things, like, I feel like if you would have called me and said, Deanna, I'm looking at your operating statement, explain to me this, I would have been fully prepared. This is my issue, is getting called and then trying to be made to look publicly unprepared.
Could somebody from your organization have gone to the county auditor, say, this is where we're at, how much would our property taxes be? That didn't.
Did we not just tell him that we did that? Well, we told him we talked to Friendly House too. He didn't think we did that either.
Wow.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a wonderful day.
Hearing no other business, the County Board of Commissioners stands adjourned at 29.
Never.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, well said.